Turpentine Creek Wildlife Refuge near Eureka Springs is one of very few facilities in the country for abused and neglected wild animals, and it happens to be our first stop on this week's show. And then we'll take you to an elephant sanctuary near Guy, which has almost as many elephants as Ringling Brothers Circus. And then we'll wrap it all up by taking you into one of the many wild caves in the Buffalo National River region. So let's begin at this animal lover's paradise here at Turpentine Creek.
Well, the refuge began in 1992 when we realized the need of a big cat refuge, and that's why we started taking in animals that suddenly needed a home. And most of the time we get the animals from people who try to keep them for pets and realize later that that maybe wasn't a great idea. Or maybe the laws have changed in the area and suddenly, they can't keep the pet that they had before. And then also people die or divorce or just whatever life might bring you, and then suddenly there's a homeless big cat. I know it's a little out of the ordinary to think about it. And when we started the refuge, back in 1992, I thought, well, 10 years down the line, we'd have all 459 acres developed and only have about 40 big cats. But it's kind of worked just the opposite way. Now we've got about 40 big cats and about 115 big cats, only about 40 acres developed. So it's just because there's so many animals out there that need help, so we do what we can when we can.
Natural landscaped habitats are planned for the animals, which will give them a lot more room to roam.
The areas that we're in right now is our main habitat, or main compound area, and our goal is to get all the animals out in big free-range natural enclosures so they can run and play and do all the things that they need to be able to do just to have the mental enrichment that we feel like they deserve.
Tanya's present-day career actually began when she was a little girl.
Yes, I've always loved animals, and my mom would say, how did all these kittens get here? And there'd be 3 different litters of kittens me and my dad had drug up, out of the dumpster, and thinking that my mom think they just wandered up, but we ended up bringing them back and taking care of them. And I mean, that's kind of how we started. My dad rescued the first line in 1978, or my family did. So, and that cat actually moved here with us in 92 and lived to be over 20 years old. So with the proper care, in captivity, the big cats can live to be that age. But in the wild, 8 to 10 years is a long life for a big cat.
I guess you mentioned people thinking they can have a wild animal as a pet without a problem. I guess that is the major problem that's out there, that people just don't understand or don't realize or don't care.
Yeah, people think that, they're going to be able to bring this animal into their house and be like Siegfried and Roy, before Roy Horn got injured, and have them living amongst them in their home, and that's just not a possibility. These animals are big animals. They start out really cute and little, though. A little baby tiger I could hold in one hand, weighs about 2.5 pounds. And then, at a month old, it's about 40 pounds, and at a year old, it's about 120 pounds. So, I mean, it grows about 10 pounds a month until it's full grown, and some of our cats are up to 700 pounds, some big Siberian male tigers. So people are misinformed. And then you have the breeders on the other side that are saying, oh yeah, you can take it home, and raise it in your house with your kids, and it's all going to be fine. And then after the people get it home, they realize that that's just not a possibility, because, the big cats when they're cubs, they're really active and trying to tear up their couches and their other pets and their children. So it's not a good idea.
Turpentine Creek Wildlife Refuge has quite an extensive internship program, which for some of the interns has meant a total career change.
I started out as a pharmacy major and came here and decided this is what I want to do, something like this, working with animals, preferably at a refuge, trying to get save animals, support them, that kind of thing. But a zoo would be great too, interactions with them.
What have you learned about these animals that before, that you didn't know before you came here?
You just gain respect for them, see their power and how they move and eat everything, and you gain this amazing respect for these animals, and they're gorgeous just looking at them. But interacting with them is amazing. I never thought I would do something like this. So.
From pharmacy to wild animals.
Yeah, that was me.
Well, I went to college for biology. I majored in biology at Keene State College in New Hampshire. I graduated and really had no idea what I wanted to do with my biology degree. Lucky enough, I saw a flyer for Turpentine Creek and was lucky enough to get the internship. It was supposed to be just for 6 months, and I thought I was coming to Arizona. But little did I know AR meant Arkansas, not Arizona. But it was fine. I fell in love with the place. 6 months later, I realized I didn't want to leave, and I've been here for 5.5 years.
All agree it's been an exhilarating learning experience.
It has been an incredible experience, and it's way beyond just the working with the animals every day, medicating them, cleaning their enclosures, moving them from here and there. It's also getting to know what a problem there is here in this country with people trying to own these guys as pets. It's really been an eye-opener, and it's inspiring to try to spread the word that big cats don't make good pets, and to try to take care of the ones that we have and get them into big enclosures.
I tell the interns when they first get here, you know, you're going to experience every emotion you can possibly imagine, and it all might be in the same day. So, I mean, you can go from being totally ecstatic about something that happened to something that just so devastating it just breaks your heart. So, but, you know, and that's some of the process of just learning to take care of the animals.
Along with adoption and sponsorship programs, the Refuge also relies heavily on donations.
We feed about 1,000 pounds of raw meat a night right now. And in the wintertime, that'll jump up to about 2,200 pounds of meat a night. And we're very thankful for Arkansas-based Tyson Foods for donating the majority of our meat, because without their support, I don't know how we could ever do that.
There's also something called Photo Wild Opportunities, which Tanya's husband Scott handles.
Well, after the reservation progress, we bring the people down, and they come out here to the habitats. And what we do is we go from one area to the other. All of them are pretty large, and the photographers are always in a safe environment, and they're not allowed to put anything through the cages and things like that. And they walk around the cages, and we do from the outside. And as you can see, the foliage covers up the cages and makes it real good for taking pictures. Normally we spend a couple hours doing that in the early morning light.
Scott talked to us about the rewards of working at the Refuge.
Well, Chuck, actually, it certainly isn't financial, that's for sure. I wish it were, but you know, at the Refuge, we get paid in so many ways that are much more important than monetary pay. You know, we get to spend time with animals that there's no place on the planet that I know of that you can go and be this close to the big cats, and it's the relationships you build with them that really make it all worthwhile. When you walk by a particular cage and that cat growls at you, and you know that you saved his life by giving him a shot of antibiotics 8 years ago, and he's still mad about it. And the next cage right next door, a cat may approach the side of the cage and rub up on it and love on you like an apparent house cat. And but at the same time, you just can't reach your hands in there and wrap them around their neck like you'd like. So, you know, you just it's amazing the relationships you can build through a cage.
Turpentine Creek Wildlife Refuge is open every day except Christmas. Pay them a visit. It'll be quite the experience for you as well. Elephants, they are quite an interesting animal. In fact, the largest land animal. Each one can eat up to several hundred pounds of plant material and drink up to 50 gallons of water per day. We're here at Riddle's Elephant and Wildlife Sanctuary near Guy. Quite the interesting and unique facility for these wonderful creatures.
Fern, head down. Head down.
Established in 1990, Riddle's Elephant and Wildlife Sanctuary is dedicated to the preservation of both Asian and African elephants. The 13 elephants here were given a home at the request of various zoos, circuses, and private owners. The sanctuary has gained worldwide acclaim for its research, education, and work involving elephant care.
Always working for the elephants, trying to make better lives for them and educate people as to their needs, not only in general, but in for people that are taking care of them, the caregivers, educating them, that type of thing. Starting, having we have a lot of school groups come up, grammar schools, that type of thing, school children. So as everyone says, and probably been quoted a million times, is children are our future, and so we need to teach children about elephants so that they can be around to help keep them from disappearing.
Various programs are offered at the sanctuary in which the public can get hands-on experience with the elephants.
We offer what we call an Elephant Experience Weekend, where folks will come in on Friday afternoon and stay the weekend. They leave just after lunch on Sunday. They get to stay here in our dormitory, eat their meals here, interact with the elephants, help clean them up, and take care of them a little bit, get a lot of photo opportunities, and it's a kind of a educational, fun weekend. We've had people come. We've been doing it for several years now, and we've had people actually tell us it's the best weekend they've had in their whole life. And it's kind of a hands-on experience that people really seem to enjoy, because people like elephants. They like to get up close to them, and so they really enjoy that. We also still have our Visitors Day, the first Saturday of every month between 11 and 3. And we welcome people to come out and look at the place. We do charge about $5 a person to help, for the cost of feeding the elephants, that type of thing.
Scott explained to us why the world's elephant population has been dwindling.
The problem that has gone to the top of the list with elephants and human beings is what they call the elephant-human conflict problem. And poaching is still an issue, and it has to be stopped. Bushmeat, killing elephants for food, that type of thing. But what really has moved to the forefront is a conflict between the human population is exploding across the world, and so where elephants live, where they come from, in either Africa or Asia, there's just a tremendous explosion of human beings, and they move into the areas where the elephants traditionally have lived for thousands of years, and they start farming it and living there, and so they're taking the land away from the elephants. The elephants still come, and what they do is they start raiding crops, and they actually will kill people at times, destroy villages, that type of thing, because they're being denied to a certain extent their grazing land that they've had for thousands of years. And so they say that the people actually are the intruders. So that's a major problem now, and elephants get poisoned, they get shot. If they're real successful crop raiders, they don't last long in Asia or Africa. They dispose of them one way or another. Although the people over there, most of them like elephants. It's if they put the question up, is my family going to eat, or is this elephant going to disappear? The elephant disappears.
Scott says work is being done, though, to rectify that situation.
We're working very closely, and always have, with a chemist out of Oregon. Her name is Dr. Bets Rasmussen. She's a famous elephant researcher, and she's discovered many things about elephants, especially chemical communication. But we have collaborated on an elephant repellent program for the last several years, and we've actually tested it in India, and we're going to go to Sri Lanka next. We got some government funding for that, and it actually works. She'd come up with some non-toxic natural chemicals that repel elephants, combined with a mechanical device that I developed, and with the help of the people here. And that combination actually keeps elephants out of crops. It works. I think it's going to have a tremendous impact on the future of elephants. And so that kind of goes into the subject of how important captive elephants are, because this study started with captive elephants. You couldn't go out and just test immediately on wild elephants. So captive elephants are important to the existence and the future of all wild elephants, because this is where a lot of the education has to take place, where a lot of the research has to take place, you know, to be able to help their wild cousins. And so it's extremely important that captive elephants be utilized to the utmost.
Of course, with a sanctuary like this, funding and donations play a major role.
If any of your listeners out there would like to donate towards the sanctuary, we are a 501c3, so it's tax deductible, or become a member or a corporate sponsor, we'd love to have them, because the elephants never stop eating. Their needs never stop. I tell people it's like having 16-year-old problem children that never leave home. So the need is always here, so we would appreciate any help we could get.
And folks can adopt an elephant.
Absolutely. You can adopt an elephant. You get a bumper sticker, and you get a picture of the elephant, and you get to go around and brag to everybody like your grandchildren, you know.
Scott says the neat thing about communicating with elephants is that they understand just like people.
Yeah, they actually understand the words.
Yeah?
Once they learn them, they understand what the words mean. Like you can tell her, Booper, back up.
He backs up.
Back up. And so she backs up. She knows what back up means. When you say steady, that means, you know, stand still. But some of it's pretty obvious. You say trunk, Booper, trunk. She puts her nose in the air. That's speak. All right, good girl. That's a good girl. Good, back up now. But no, they're highly intelligent. But there's no limit to what you can teach them.
Elephant never forgets.
Absolutely. I do, but they don't.
We've made a slight wardrobe change for this segment because I think we plan to get down and dirty outside one of the wild caves here in the Buffalo River region. With me is a well-known cave expert, Robert Ginsberg. Now, Robert, I guess first of all, we need to point out the three basic points that the cavers need to know.
The rule of three, if you're going to go caving, is a good rule to abide by. You should never have less than 3 sources of light. 2 of them can go out, so it's nice to have at least 3 sources of light. It's a good idea to go with at least 3 people. If somebody gets hurt, you have someone to send for help, and you also have someone to stay with the victim. And then when you're climbing on any vertical kind of a cave, you want to keep 3 points of contact, a hand and 2 feet, or 2 hands and a feet, so if one slips, you're still not going to fall. The other basic rules have to do with letting somebody know where you are. It's hard enough to find somebody in the woods, but imagine finding somebody down in a hole. So those are just some of the real basic things that you want to follow if you're going to do any wild caving. It's not an activity to be taken lightly. There's definitely dangers that lurk down there.
And this is a vertical entrance here, so we're going to be doing a little rappelling down, I understand?
Yeah, we'll harness up and we'll drop down. It's not a very deep entrance. It drops into the stream passage, and once we're down into the stream passage, it's pretty much a horizontal cave. We'll follow the stream back up into this mountain.
The thing about exploring a wild cave, it's not going to be lit up like a show or tourist cave. The only light inside is the light you bring in. And that's exactly what we'd like to portray to you in this segment, along with the hollow sounds of talking inside a cave.
Part of spelunking, I guess, is going through passageways like this, makes it even more interesting.
This is calcite crystal that's leaching out of the walls. The water has worked its way down. It's dissolved the limestone and reformed the limestone in the form of these calcite crystals, which are flowing back over the rock and giving it that crystal layer. That's what's building up the rimstone dams. It's also one of the reasons that it's so fragile. You don't even want to walk on this because obviously you destroy the crystals if you're walking on it. All of these formations are being redeposited back into what was eroded out by water in the form of these gorgeous draperies and bacon strips. And maybe we can get the camera to show how you can really see light through the back of these. Can you see that?
Some of what you may see inside a cave may even resemble the surface of, say, Mars.
It does seem like an alien world at times, these strange shapes and formations and sounds, but on a day like today, which is late August, it's a great day to go underground because it's about 50 degrees down here, so you come out of the sweltering heat, and conversely, in the winter, when it's freezing cold, it's still about 50 degrees, so there's that appeal. You do have to be aware of the weather outside because if it's rainstorms and so forth, you certainly don't want to get into an underground cave that might flood, but it really is just a great combination of physical exertion, adventure, and discovery. I mean, there's so much to be discovered underground, and it really, in many ways, is an indication of what's going on in the surface. It's almost like a blood test. You know, everything that happens on the surface ultimately makes its way down into the ground. In that respect, I think it gives us a whole new understanding of the impact we have on the planet. But just the adventure aspect of it, and there's still new caves being discovered in Arkansas, caves that have probably never been inhabited or visited by humans before, so there's that sense of exploration. And again, the analogy of going to another planet certainly applies to that. But to be able to go somewhere where perhaps no one has gone before, and even if they have, it's hard to believe that they have. And it's sort of, for me, the same experience as walking down a river. You always want to know what's around the next turn. Well, caves are certainly that way. A lot of times they'll just dead end and that'll be the end of it. The next time you go into that cave, you might find a way around that dead end and discover a whole new part of the cave that you didn't even know existed. So that certainly is part of the allure, the discovery. And just the grandeur of it, knowing that you're literally inside of the earth. And who knows, there was probably some primordial, instinctive aspect of humans going underground back to the very dawn of man. So all those things come together to make it an activity that I've really come to enjoy, and it certainly has become a part of my identity. I spend a lot of time underground. We're really looking at the underside of a flowstone, and the bottom of this flowstone is just heavily decorated with these stalactites. And you could walk right by this because this is kind of at waist level and never realize that if you stoop down and look underneath here, it's just a forest of stalactites that runs about, I would say, 30 feet down this water passage. And if you look closely, you can even see where the water drops are coming off the bottom of the stalactites. And it also looks almost icy, like an icicle. And that's the calcite forming, continuing the growth of the stalactites. That's good.
Yeah, spelunking. You gotta love it.
So explore for yourself one of the wild and exciting caves in the Ozark Mountain region, and a good way to do that is to join an organization like the Boston Mountain Grotto, and then take a ride on an elephant at Riddle's Elephant Sanctuary near Guide. And by all means, check out all the lions and tigers and bears at Turpentine Creek Wildlife Refuge near Eureka Springs. And for more info on these and other destinations, visit our website at atn.org/exploringarkansas. And we'll see you again the next time for another exciting adventure on Exploring Arkansas.